Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bop Stop, where today we're going to be closing out the 2022 lists with the top 25 albums of 2022. Starting at number 25, got Charli XCX with Crash. This album definitely grew on me. I wasn't the biggest fan at first. It's definitely Charli like going back into a more pop-facing realm. I do still like the production. I think it's pretty fun overall, catchy. And I think that the lyrics, this is kind of a foray into Charli's unhealthy relationship habits. I think there's, content there that I appreciate. Still, I think a solid record. Definitely not my favorite Charli XCX record, but fun, catchy. I like it. Number 24, we have Viagra Boys with Cave World, Return to Monkey. And that's going to be it. Number 23, Sudan Archives with Natural Brown Prom Queen. This is a very interesting record. It's easier continuing to improve on her sound, I would say. I love the electronic bits, the string bits. I think a lot of the lyricism is really great. This record has a lot to offer. It feels a bit bloated, but overall it's a lot of great content on this record. It's definitely worth checking out. Number 22, we have BABii with Screamer. Yeah, I'm a big BABii fan, to be honest. She's made really cool music in the past. I really like her ethereal stuff, but this mixtape actually sees her collaborating with a lot of different producers, some other vocalists, making a bunch of really cool tracks. There's a lot of more breakbeat type stuff here. It's really, really cool. Lots of catchy tracks, honestly. Lots of fun tracks too. It's cool little collaborative mixtape, although I'm not sure what else she has kind of planned in this direction. It'll be interesting to see. For 21, we got Breakins with Hypochondriac. I'm so conflicted on this record because I have there are some big problems with this record. I think lyrically Breakins' ego comes through a lot. He does try and justify that with the last couple tracks, and there's definitely some interesting lyrical content there. Something that I kind of struggled with, does this validate it? Does it not validate it? I think that's really up for the listener to decide. Even without all that, the production on this record is absolutely wonderful. I love all the glitchiness, hyper pop-esque beats. And Breakins is a really great job rapping over them. Makes a ton of catchy hooks. I find myself going back to this record a lot. I'm still super conflicted on it, even after listening to it so many times. But I think overall it's worth listening to. It's worth checking out. Whether you vibe with it or not, that's up to every person. But I don't know. I think this record is notable, at least. I think it's worth checking out. Number 20, we got Digifay with Digifay, their self-titled record. This is a collaboration between Galen Tipton and Diana Starshine. They've collaborated in the past, and the collaboration's always been fun, catchy. They have this bright approach, I would say, to a lot of hyperpop glitchcore scene. Super catchy. I love Galen Tipton's production. It's always super textured, super intricate. There's lots of catchy tracks here. There are some choices here and there that I'm not always the biggest fan of, but overall, this record kept me coming back to it. It's just that fun. Up my alley. Love their work. Want to see the best for these artists in the future. Number 19, we got Gene Dawson with Chaos Now. Yeah, Gene Dawson comes through with a really great album this year. I think Chaos Now has a lot to offer. It's got a bunch of catchy tracks. It's got some more personal tracks. Great instrumentation. A lot of hip-hop and rock, punk crossovers don't go very well, but Gene Dawson is kind of the exception to the rule, I think. Really love this album. Super fun. Number 18, we got Black Dresses with Forget Your Own Face. Black Dresses keep making good music. Forget Your Own Face is no exception. Honestly, it's pretty short. I wish kind of hoping for more, but you can always get more. Or can't always get what you want. Lots of cool tracks. I love their production style. They're very heavy, experimental, industrial style. On top of these off-the-wall lyrics. Just really fun record. Comes together super well. I don't think it's my favorite Black Dresses record, but still great. Check it out. Or don't. Actually, Black Dresses are pretty inaccessible. But I don't know. You can try. Number 17. Duster with Together. Duster got back together after a hiatus back in 2019. Their legendary space rock slowcore band. Together is really a return to form, but it's not necessarily copying their early work. It's still very much its own thing, separate from their early work. And I think it's definitely worth checking out. There's a lot of great tracks. I love the fuzziness of this record on top of that languid energy that I love about Stratosphere. But yeah, Duster Together, really, really solid record from the band. So excited to see if they're, going to continue kind of exploring some different things, seeing what happens. Number 16, we got Chatpile with God's Country. Chatpile is a very interesting band that kind of came onto the scene this year. They're like experimental noise rock, I would say. And they bring in a lot of elements from a lot of different genres, from like metal, post-rock, post-hardcore, all these sorts of things. Interesting record for sure. I think that the instrumentation sound interesting. They don't sound like anybody else. Or more likely, they sound like a mix of like 20 other things. Also, I think that the lyricism, it's not like my favorite, but their kind of messaging is at least intriguing. Kind of re-listening as I'm really like getting into it. It's cool record. Number 15, we got Death's Dynamic Shroud with Darklife. This is a longer project from Death's Dynamic Shroud. We're not going to talk about Derelict My Guitar, because that is a very long project. In recent years, they've kind of kept it tight. And Darklife, I wish they had kept Darklife tighter. I think there's a little bit of bloat on this album, but overall, I mean, production is absolutely incredible, as with any Death's Dynamic Shroud release pretty much, and the kind of ability to create emotions and moods on this album also really great. Just another great work from like Death's Dynamic Shroud, and I'm a huge fan of their sound, their style. They're making music like nobody else, and they deserve like way more credit. But yeah, love Death's Dynamic Shroud, Darklife, great record. Number 14, got Gospel with The Loser. Gospel was a band that was active back in like the 2000s and then went on hiatus and then came back this year. This is like their second album, and it's really, really good. Like a post-hardcore band, and I think that their sound comes through like really great. Like super consistent record. Love like a lot of the tracks here. Cool instrumentation, great vocal delivery. If they continue making more music, that'd be super cool. I think that this is like a great, one of the best comebacks like any band could ask for. I think really, really cool record. 13, we got Beach House with Once Twice Melody. This is a very expansive record from Beach House. It's like 4 EPs stitched together. Got a lot of great songs on it. With any album, it's like an hour and a half. There's a couple things that probably could have been cut. For the most part, it really hits. I think a lot of the songs really take their time and allow themselves to breathe, really get comfortable, get seated in these like dreamy tracks. There's a lot of catchy choruses on this album. I love the pillowy production. Really solid like Beach House record. Definitely like one of my favorites, actually. Kind of surprisingly, I guess. Going into it, I wasn't really expecting it to stick with me as much as it did. But yeah, I would say I definitely am a fan of this new Beach House record. Check it out. Number 12, we got Show Me the Body with Trouble the Water. This is a great like full length from the band. The band recently has kind of pulled back the aggression and gone for a more kind of like brooding, building anger that can just spontaneously like release. And I think that style is great. I think they have delivered on every front, the aggression, but also the brooding anger, and it really lets the anger like build inside you. On top of that, like their lyricism is as poignant as ever. Talking about like socio-political issues. I don't know, just like a great album from the band. Love the anger, love the aggression, love the lyricism. Also, like, there's a lot of catchy tracks here. Yeah, Show Me the Body. Love it. Number 11, Whiston with Quiet as Kept, F.O.G. Whiston is, like, always such an interesting artist, always making such interesting music. With 2019's No World As Good As Mine, I think that was one of the most forward-thinking electronic records in the past, like, decade. So I'm always, like, excited to see what Whiston has next. I think Quiet As Kept is another immaculately produced record. There's so many different incorporations of instruments on this record and features that work out super well. It also sees Whiston like really, I think, like solidifying his style. He started out in this kind of experimental like deconstructed club area, and he's definitely like come a long way since then, explored all these different avenues and found himself more as an artist, and I really appreciate that. Again, the production on this record, really great. Definitely the highlight of the record is the production. And it's, I think, what Whiston does best. Yeah, great record. Quiet As Kept, F.O.G. Check it out if you want some like cutting edge experimental electronic music. Top 10 time. Top 10 albums. Number 10. We got Petrol Girls with BABii. Petrol Girls is like a punk band from the UK. They're like riot girl punk. Super fun album. I think that they kind of bring out the fun in punk music. They also bring out the political side of punk music, where there's a lot of like feminist topics on this album, whether they be like explicit or more subtle. But either way, Petrol Girls does a great job. I keep saying girls. I need to stop. Petrol Girls. Petrol Girls. What was I saying? It's a good album. Check it out if you like punk stuff. Number 9, Black Country New Road with Ants from Up There. So Black Country New Road kind of shifts away from their darker rock prog sound to like a chamber pop style, but they still keep their beautiful way of like building this instrumentation up. I think Ants from Up There, like the compositions are absolutely beautiful. On top of like Isaac Wood, sometimes a little bit offbeat lyricism, but there's always something to dive into with this lyricism. It all like comes together super well. Like everybody I know kind of has a different thing that they like about this album. For me, I think really the composition, the builds shine, whereas for other people it's like the lyricism. For some people it's like the instrumentation. There's certainly some catchy tracks here and some absolutely amazing tracks. Like I think like the last 3 tracks on this record are immaculate. Very, very interesting record from the band. Sad to see Isaac Wood leaving the band, but understandable. Like, we'll see what happens to Black Country New Road next, and wish the best of luck to all of them. Yeah. Number 8, got Kilo Kish with American Girl. Kilo Kish is like alternative R&B. I really love the production on this record. Like the production is one of the stars of the show. Not that Kilo Kish isn't like the star of the show, but the production like really goes off. I think there's a lot of tracks that have way better production than like they have any right to be. Nothing against like Kilo Kish, but just definitely something I didn't expect off this record, and it works out super well. Kilo's vocals as well are great. A bunch of catchy tracks, some interesting lyricism. This album is kind of conceptually about what it means to be an American girl, like, and what that means to Kilo Kish, and like the freedoms involved with that. So yeah, it's an interesting record. Definitely, I think worth checking out. One of my favorites of the year. Number 7, we got Cheat Codes, collaboration between Danger Mouse and Black Thought. Cool record. I really love the production. It's got a very like classic feel to it. Black Thought has always been like a really great rapper, and combined with this production works out super well. There's like so many topics on this record about, I guess, like life as a black person and growing up in like cities, especially like New York, facing racism, facing hardships, which I think is very like poignant lyricism. There are some times where I feel like Black Thought's ego gets a little bit in the way. It doesn't really need to be there, but overall, there's a lot of great stuff on this record. Lots of great lyricism from Black Thought and other features as well. Great production from Danger Mouse. Great record. Number 6, gonna go with Concern with Dariacore. This is okay, so technically there's 3 volumes of Dariacore that are separate, but I couldn't pick a favorite volume. And when I listen to them, I just listen to them all together. Because I think they all go together like super well. They're all in the same style. There are differences between each of the volumes. It works together on the whole. Concern, also previously known as Leroy, is the alias of Jane Remover, previously known as the lead Zeke. So there's been a new like up-and-coming genre recently called Hyperflip. Flip is like taking a track and sort of remixing it. It's putting a bit more of your style into it than a remix. And Hyperflip incorporates flips along with like elements of hyperpop, EDM, breakcore, and like mashups. All these tracks are just a mash between other songs on top of these really like fast-paced dancing, like breakbeat production. And I don't know, I think that like Concern just nails it on Dariacore. I've heard a lot of other artists in this genre, and Dariacore just like takes the tape. I just keep coming back to the record. It's so fun, so bouncy. Hard to call it catchy because a lot of its catchiness relies in songs that you already know, but they are flipped in a different way, a new way, and I think that the way they are flipped is still catchy and adds to these tracks. Like there are tracks here that sample songs where I do not like the original song, like the Chainsmokers and Halsey track Closer. I feel like shows up like 3 times on this record. I can't tell because that song sounds so generic. They could be sampling other songs, but I just think that it's Closer. Anyways, not a fan of that track really, but like the way that elements from Closer are incorporated on tracks on this album makes for a more interesting listen. This collection of albums is probably not for everyone. Like, I understand this is a very niche genre, very niche audience, but I don't know. I love it. I find myself coming back again and again to this record. Can't really explain why I love it. It could be the catchiness, the interesting production, the super unique production, honestly. Like, despite the fact that lots of these sounds are coming from other samples, Concern still has very much their own style. This record is probably, like, I think the Hyperflip record. I don't know if any other Hyperflip project will ever hit as hard as this one does. So if you're gonna check out Hyperflip, I feel like this is the place to start. At number 5, Oh So No Shake with You Can't Kill Me. Again, this is another record where I think the production shines the brightest. Like, every track here, the production is absolutely gorgeous. So incredibly produced. And really, like, surprising to me. After Shake's debut, I thought she was going to be more of, like, a singles artist, but, like, this album is really an album experience. Tracks flow together incredibly well. They work off of each other. It's hard for me to just, like, pick a single favorite track because, like, when you listen to this album, you listen to it, like, as an album. Huge step for Shake as an artist. Lyrically, Shake isn't the strongest. The vocals can be kind of one note. The lyricism, a bit shallow sometimes, but even at points where, like, it's not my favorite, it doesn't really detract from the record that much. And I think that there are times where lyrically, like, it does hit, you know, especially towards, like, the back end of the record. So yeah, definitely, like, worth checking out in my opinion. Super, super cool record. Love the production again. Coming in at number 4, we have Billy Woods with Aethiopes. Billy Woods has been, like, one of my favorite rappers for, like, years now, especially in the underground. Aethiopes is perhaps my favorite Billy Woods project. I really love the production on this record, first off. It's very, like, dark and sinister. Billy Woods does a great job with beats just like this. But also, like, lyrically, Billy Woods is one of the strongest, I think, out there. Talks about a lot on this record. Again, not a lot that I can really, like, speak to from personal experience or relate to. There's a lot to dive into on this record and a lot worth diving into on this record. Yeah, it's, like, a really great project. Number 3 got Ashenspire with Hostile Architecture. Ashenspire is, I had honestly never listened to their music before this record, and oh my god, it's amazing. They're a Scottish, like, avant-garde black metal group who is very, like, politically charged. Lyrics on this album are talking about, like, socioeconomic issues. The title, like, Hostile Architecture itself, is a reference to homeless spikes. They kind of view something like that as a declaration of war on, like, the lower class, and I think that is very powerful imagery, very powerful lyricism. There's a lot more going on in this record besides that. Like, they have a lot to say, and they sure are saying it, and I really appreciate that. They make unique points, I think. There's just a lot of good lyricism, a lot to dive into, a lot that I definitely find myself agreeing with. Additionally, like, the instrumentation on this record is super cool. They bring in a lot of other instruments to kind of accentuate these songs, like the strings on the opener or horns at other points. Makes for a more unique listening experience. Like, even if they didn't have the best instrumentation, like, just lyrically, this album ranks, like, super high, I think. But on top of great lyrics, you have great instrumentation. You have it all coming together super well. Absolutely fantastic record. Number 2, we have Soglo with Diaspora Problems. Soglo is a, like, punk band. They feel like so much more than just punk, though. They're incorporating elements of punk, hip-hop, metal, new metal, all in, like, really great ways. They talk about issues facing the modern black community. Their lyricism, I feel like they could get off being, like, kind of surface level because their style is so fast-paced and aggressive that it's more about the tone of the music than the actual lyrical content, but there is lyrical content there as well. There's a lot to dive into. I think they have a lot of diverse and interesting points that they make. Yeah, like, a really great record. I love their energy. I love their style. Like, they keep up for the entire, like, full length. Sounds great. Absolutely wonderful record. Yeah. And then finally, number 1, we have Denzel Curry with Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. I don't know. This is a great record. So Denzel moves away from the kind of harder, more aggressive beats to a more, like, psychedelic vibe, and it works out, like, super well. Denzel is able to flow into these beats incredibly well. The production is insanely good. It really gets the kind of vibe, mood across the melty. It feels melty. I don't know how to say that, but that's how I feel. Additionally, like Denzel has always been a very strong lyricist, and that does not change here. His like flows are great. His rapping great. Lyricism is great. The whole sort of concept of this record is seeing like kind of what's happening around you, what's going on, like all these issues that people are facing, and seeing what can be done or what needs to be done about it. Also want to shout out, there's like a deluxe edition that has these more like jazzy, soulful instrumentals, which also sound great, although I do prefer the more psychedelic instrumentals. Incredible record. Denzel's come like a long way as an artist, and he continues to improve. Really, really great stuff. And it's gonna do it for 2022's lists. Let me know what you thought of these albums. If you listened to them, if you haven't listened to them, check them out. You can tell us your favorite albums of 2022 in the comments below. We do read all the comments. Thank you all. See you in 2023. Mwah. You have a good day.